needed sorting. Morgan was a stickler. She'd catch hell if he found any expired meds on the infirmary shelves, but she'd also catch it if she switched any out too soon. As she wandered down to the end of the dock while the last of the group piled on board, Ernesto scowled at her and eyed the lines now tethering the boat, an old wooden fisherman's vessel with an inboard motor. Lingering on the dock, Kimmy looked over to Ernesto.
"Any chance we could wait for Alecia? I bet she won't be that long."
"No way. She can stay over with the next shift. It's good practice." Ernesto barely let Kimmy on board before he ordered the others to release the lines. Ernesto. Sometimes the inner circle people gave her the creeps, but they were supposed to be on the same team. Even if that was too much to ask of the ICers, they didn't have to treat the rest of them like slaves. Alecia turned her back on the departing boat and told herself she didn't mind staying behind. The island was never unguarded for long and drew no tourists. No surprise, with all the trespassers will be shot, survivors will be shot again signs posted. For all that, she considered Hawk's Nest a home away from home. Still, with the ferry gone, she felt unease fill the vacuum. She knew some of the IC people were still training around the island, but she couldn't see or hear any sign of them. Usually she relished the silence, but right now, she'd prefer to know where they were and what they were up to. Too bad the water remained so icy. It beckoned her to take a dip and clear her mind. The boxes on the dock reminded her to get back to work. She lugged the first couple of boxes up toward the main compound, sweating by the time she reached the building. The weather-worn tin structures and tent platforms masked the real heart of the island. She dropped the boxes inside one of the rectangular buildings, where simple cots were lined up like a Spartan campsite or makeshift barracks. When the time came, they'd be filled with fellow travelers. When she'd brought all the boxes inside, she moved to the back of the building and pulled the canvas cover off the storm door into the floor. Luckily, the glow sticks the others had left behind still gave off enough yellowish light to show the way down the stairs. Good. She'd hate to get ripped for firing up the generator and wasting gas on her mistake. She could use her penlight to read the labels, and hopefully she'd be done while it was still daylight. She had the idea to chase the boat back to the Lutzen site in one of the sea kayaks. If she was quick, it might be worth a try. No storms expected, and that would make for an outstanding challenge. Depending on how the 10-mile paddle for shore went, she might suggest it as an achievement badge in the curriculum. And it would be better than staying here by herself. Every time she walked down the steps to the underground level of the compound, it felt strange. Impressive but creepy, in part due to the deceptively large size of the facility they'd constructed. But it was clear why Morgan had wanted the island. Most of the islands around the region had soil no more than 4 to 5 feet deep before bedrock ended the fun. Hawk's Nest Island was an anomaly, with a deep bowl shape eroded into the rock. Alecia was no geologist, but it was cool. Even cooler was the fact that they could excavate and establish the network of huge covert pipe tunnels and chambers all underground. Most she knew well, and now she turned right instead of continuing down the passage where the other food and survival gears sat. She was headed outside the one portion reserved exclusively for Morgan and the IC, to the yellow school bus that served as a makeshift infirmary. She wished she could have seen the bus roll into the ground years ago, but she did see the process out by the farm recently. Gone were the seats and other interior elements of a normal bus. Now partitions and shelves held various drugs. She had keys for the locked cabinets that held regular items like aspirin and ointments and creams. Deeper inside, the IC cached the more serious med supplies that were reserved for the docks. The first time she went down into the tunnel, once she got over her initial claustrophobia and concern that such a primitive-looking structure would collapse, the quiet amazed her. The designers had added sound-deadening materials to keep the noise down even if the shelter were packed with people. Though tons of soil pushed down on the roof, the bus was sturdy. After all, it had been built to remain intact even in a